Coming to you from the greatest city in the world.
That's Gary
This
Owen,
is the
our
number
announcer.
one
Thank you
showbiz
so much.
podcast.
Today
It's
is
Talk
just
for
awesome.
Two.
We have two
Here's your host,
ventriloquists
Matt
from
Bailey.
the Event Haven Convention that I was able to sit down with. We're going to present to you Harold Crocker and Dennis Daniels, though not in that order. Dennis will be first. But first, we have some housekeeping to do, and I want to tell you thank you to Axtell Expressions and Tangent Bound Network, as we always do. Steve Axtell, puppet innovator extraordinaire, deserves your thanks. Drop him a line at axtell.com or on his Facebook page and tell him how much you appreciate his support. Do the same for Mark at tangentboundnetwork.com and listen to his own podcast, because if not for him, you wouldn't even hear me, all right? Now, Dennis Daniels, you go to the Event Haven Convention, and I didn't write a script this week because I just wanted to, there's too much I want to say about both of these that I didn't want to write it out. You go to the Event Haven Convention, and you meet people, but you never really know people until you sit down and you talk to them. And we like to think of ourselves as a big, happy family here in the event world, but truth is, we don't all know each other to the degree of other than just, oh, hey, it's great to see you at convention. I didn't know what to expect when I sat down with Dennis Daniels, but I got to tell you, I was blown away. This gentleman is not only very talented, he's very kind, and he uses his skill for good as an educator. And I'm not going to say any more than that because I don't want to tell you his story. I'm just going to, I want to let him speak for it himself, but just know that I was very moved by what he had to say. Now, before we get to the episode, this is the first time, I think it's the first time in almost 100 episodes that I have screwed up somebody's name. And there's no way to edit around it because we make jokes about it throughout the interview. So it was like the third or fourth day of the convention, and I had written, it was a double D name, and I had written his name down wrong, and I excitedly blurred out the entirely wrong name. So, Dennis, well, I get the first name right. Give me half credit. But I can't believe I did this, but it's there for posterity, a human moment that you get to see or hear, and I just have to deal with it. So here now, with an incredibly inspiring story, Dennis Daniels. All right, we are back here again at the convention with somebody who has one of the coolest names I've ever had. Dennis Davis.
Try again. Dennis Daniels.
Daniels.
There you go.
I looked at the sheet yesterday, and I'm sorry.
It's why I go by Mr. D.
Mr. D.
And I like that.
I knew it was a double D name, and I was like, that's awesome. Dennis Daniels. Oh, gosh, I'm so sorry.
It's
I wrote
okay.
you in, and it's all right,
it's all
man.
good.
This is great. Thank you for signing up. I'm excited.
I'm excited to be here.
Regardless of your name, this is great. Well, how'd you get started in event, Dennis?
Like a lot of events, I started when I was 10 years old, or thereabouts. Mm-hmm. I started watching the Winchell Mahoney time.
Yeah.
And I just loved the puppets, and I loved watching them come to life. And I said, I want to do that. And I taught myself. Mm-hmm. And that's where it all started. Professionally, I got my first puppet from Dan Pays back in 1999. Wow. And his name is Zach. And we started Mr. D and Friends is what we call our troupe. So
that do you do it professionally or is
I do. I do work full time at a school system.
Oh, cool.
I'm the dean of students at a charter school in Asbury Park.
Oh, nice. I got to stop you. I went to a charter high school. What's the charter? What's the specialty?
In the state of New Jersey, we have charters. Ours basically, we are in Asbury Park, which is an economically challenged community.
Okay.
On the uprise now. So the children there, the school system was failing. The public school system was failing. Mm-hmm. So our specialty was basically really just to make small classrooms. Nice. And specialize in the individual child and understanding the special things that are in their lives.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So
I'm dean of students there, and I'm blessed because we do things in a different way. Mm-hmm. Every morning, I get to have community circle with the children. Mm-hmm. Every Friday, we do something with the puppets.
That's great.
And that's great. We do drumming and spiritual chanting and things like that. Mm-hmm. It's very holistically driven on the children. And then outside of that, I have my own company, my own business, Mr. D and Friends,
Nice.
which is generally family entertainment. We sometimes work adult things. We've done, VFWs and Elks clubs and things like that. But we're generally more fairs, festivals, birthday parties, and the like.
That's wonderful. That's fantastic. And you talk about what kind of things do you do with the puppets with the kids at the school?
Well, the thing that I find is wonderful, excuse me, when I first started at the school, I had to actually, when I went in for my interview, I was very nervous. It was a changing career for me. I had worked with physically and mentally handicapped adults prior to being in the school system.
Yeah.
So I had started Mr. D and Friends just a short time before coming to Hope Academy. It was in 2003. And I was very nervous. So I figured, what better way to get over my nervousness? I brought Zach with me, and they asked me to come in and do a lesson for the students. And what I teach is character education, which is basically, like I said, we reach out to the whole child, teaching them core values and things to help them be better people. So I did a lesson, and I dressed up Zach at the time as an alien from another planet who was coming down to learn about humans, is what he called us. Nice. And so we kind of used him as a tool to come in. But I'll do things like that. Whatever the lesson is for the day, whether it's the slogan of leading a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. I have a horse puppet that I would bring in, and, he would literally talk to the children. We did, during bullying week at school, I have 2 dogs. One's a big dog, one's a little dog. The little dog was getting teased and picked on by one of my other puppets. He brought in his younger brother, who is this very gigantic dog. and the kid, and we played out in front of the children. They get to know the puppets. They know Carmen. They know Zach. They know my puppets by name. And they start to, as the weeks go by, they ask, "Oh, is Carmen going to come and visit us on Friday? Or is Zach going to come and visit us on Friday?" So they get to know the puppets. And in a lot of ways, the children open up to the puppets in ways that they don't even open up to me. During that first time when I came to Hope Academy, one of the things that I like to remember, I think it's kind of what got me the job there. I had one of my other puppets, Old Mac. He's the old storyteller from the Axtell series. Yeah. And I was utilizing him. And we had a question and answer section. And one of the children asked, why do my grandparents always, want to touch my face whenever I come to their house? And I didn't answer the question. I let old Mac answer the question. And he basically said to the child, "It's because they love you. And they know they don't have much more time with you. And they want to touch you as much as they can." And when old Mac said that to the boy, he looked up and he said, "I'm going to go hug my grandpa today." So it's that kind of thing where the puppets can kind of reach out to the child in ways that my explanation of, they're getting old, it might not come off the same way.
Yeah, that's great. Now, you are sitting here with Carmen.
Carmen came with me today. I have to keep this man in line.
Yes.
Carmen's a little feisty, and sometimes when I do things like the VFW or the Elks, or when we're just cruising around here at the convention, I am a force to be reckoned with. Carmen has her own little following here at the convention, and she's pretty much a social butterfly. Yes, I am.
Yes, that's wonderful. How did she come? How did you decide that you wanted to work with a female character?
I have about 11 or so different voices that are flopping around in my head, but Carmen came off, and I think all of my characters come kind of as an offshoot of who I am. Yeah. I grew up with my mother. 4 sisters. Nice. And that was the household, really. So I came up in a really female-based household. So I heard my mothers and sisters talking for years and years and years. And Carmen just seemed to be just kind of a natural offshoot for me. She's feisty. She has part of my personality. She has the side of personality that if I were a woman, I think would come out. I think I'd be, sassy, brassy sort of thing. That's all me. Yes. That's me, Mr. Matt. and so she brings that out. And I heard Jeff Dunham talking one time, and he said he talked about having figures and working with them. And he was working with a female figure at one point, and he gave her up. It was the one that he used in the movie that he was in. Yeah. And he gave her up after a while. And I saw him in an interview, and he was talking about that. And he said he gave her up because he really could not connect and relate to that character. Now, I understand that. You can't just pick up any figure and relate to it. For me, Carmen works just fine. She's, and it's really weird for me. I'm a heterosexual male. I'm married. I have a son, and, but Carmen's a big flirt. And so she flirts with guys. Yeah. So it's really a weird dichotomy of her flirting with guys, which is me flirting with guys, but I'm not,
Yeah.
And some people would say, well, you're in denial. Oh, you Mr. D? No, I'm not. But it's fun. It's all just fun, and it makes people smile, and it makes people laugh, and that's what I love to do.
And it does. If I had to pinpoint, I don't want to be making assumptions, but I think with your career in education, it might also just be the nurturing side, sometimes what we refer to as the mothering side.
Absolutely.
Of you coming out in the character.
I think you might have something, Mr. Matt.
I don't know.
That's definitely a side of me. Part of my role at Hope Academy as Dean of Students is discipline. And early in my career, someone tried to put the moniker on me that I was the Dean of Discipline. And I said, ooh, no, I don't want to be that. But my disciplinary style is exactly that. It's more nurturing. It's getting to know the child, having them open up, and trust.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of it. I'm not about, all right, you're out of here now. Oh, Mr. D's going to get you. But the funny thing is, as nurturing as I can be, I've talked to some of my children over the years, and I had this one little boy, and he's just coming to mind this year. We have a uniform at my school. So we wear formal uniform. We wear a button-down shirt. We wear a tie, etc. He didn't have his tie, or he had a tie. He got a new tie. And instead of a clip-on tie, he had a tie that had to be tied. Now, I have a very good relationship with his sister, who is a 7th grader. He is a 2nd grader. And at one point, we would always talk, but he's a very, very quiet and shy kid. And so this morning, he came in with his tie, and it was undone. So his sister said, go help Mr. D help you. The kids call me Mr. D at school as well. Have Mr. D help you put your tie on. He'll help you. And I often do that with the kids. I teach them how to tie ties, which is a wonderful skill for them to have. So he says, I don't know if I want to go Mr. D. He scares me sometimes. And so I asked him, I was like, Shiloh, why do I scare? Oh, I'm sorry, I should have said it. Well, it's his first name. I said, why do I scare you? And he goes, well, sometimes because if I do something wrong, then I know I'll get in trouble and I'll have to come and see you. I said, but have I ever yelled at you? Have I ever been mean to you? He goes, well, no, you're really a nice man, but sometimes you scare me. And and some of the kids have said that sometimes I can walk into a room and I'll have my serious look on my face, And I think that's what it takes. Once you have that, as you said, the nurturing sort of relationship with children, it doesn't take yelling. It doesn't take raising your voice. It just takes having a look or whatever. So
that's wonderful. Well, we are here at the convention. I want to shift gears here before you head out.
Yes.
How many conventions have you been coming to?
I started here. I was a red dot in 2004.
Cool.
I remember that year. It was just absolutely fantastic. And I've come to all the conventions since 2004, except last year I didn't come. My son had graduated from the 8th grade at the time, so we chose to take him to Disney instead of doing the convention. And so that's what we did last year. And then I think I might have missed one other year somewhere in there. But other than that, I've been here each year.
Wonderful. What are you looking forward to for this year?
I have a new figure who I'm going to be introducing here at the convention.
Oh, cool. Where are you performing?
I would like to, I'm hoping when we register today, I'm going to register for the open mic.
Yeah.
So hopefully I'll get it on Thursday night. I'll be up in line quickly so I can get on stage. And I have some new material that I want to try with this new character that I got.
That's fantastic.
So I don't want to drop any secrets on who he is. I'm not even unveiling him until he'll be out on stage, hopefully Thursday night, and then I can bring him out to the convention on Friday.
Yeah. Now, we get a lot of younger events. People, I talk about this all the time when I'm here. I'm in the weird sort of mid-range now that I'm not, it's weird for me to be hanging out with, the 14, 15, 16-year-olds, but there's not a lot of people up my age.
Yes.
So we're all a part of this new generation. What do you want to see from the younger vets?
I think they have to come up with new and creative ways to take ventriloquism. And it starts just with the passion, and that's what I love seeing with the young guys here. And it's mostly guys, although there are a few girls. The young people here, I see that passion. My son started taking up vent. Like I said, he came with me a couple of years ago, but he hasn't totally embraced it. He has a couple of figures of his own, but I see it here in the young people that are embracing it in their characters, and I think they just need to figure out new and modern ways to bring it to their audience. I'm much older than you are. I'm of the old school.
That's great.
So I do the straight vent stuff, but you guys live in the world of technology and all these new things that are coming into the world, and I think that's the next wave that somehow, without losing the purity of what ventriloquism is, somehow incorporating that, and I haven't gotten the answer to it because I'm not a techno guy, but the young people have to somehow figure out how to get that techno part with the purism of ventriloquism. And the funny thing is, when I do my thing nowadays, a lot of people think, and I do a lot of singing in my performances.
Oh, cool.
So then a lot of people think it's a soundtrack or it's something techno or whatever, and it's like, no, it's not a technology thing, it's a talent thing. But I think that's the next wave that the young people have to define for their generation.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Dennis Daniels. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Matt, thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Carmen.
See you. All righty.
Thank you, Dennis. I still feel bad about the name because I like to show each and every one of my guests the same amount of respect. It doesn't matter who you are. So I really do feel bad about that. But like I said at the top, your story is just awesome. And now we present our interview with Harold Crocker, who many of you know, because he performed for JFK at the White House. He's got the whole world in his hand with, of course, Butch, Harold's figure. It's really cool to hear Harold's story. He never went pro. He never did it full time. I mean, it was always just a very frequent side gig, but he never stopped what he was doing to do it full time. And so we think we know Harold. He's another one, and this is why I paired them together. We think we know Harold, but he's another one that you have to sit down and you have to talk to really understand who he is, and he's just awesome as well. Here now, our interview with Harold Crocker. Harold Crocker, I gotta tell you, I've been looking forward to this one. We're sitting here with Harold Crocker. Wait, edit. Hey everyone out there, we're still at Vent Haven, and I'm sitting here with one of my favorite ventriloquists. I'm serious. Harold Crocker, welcome to Talk for Two.
Welcome, Matt, and I'm glad to be on your show, and I hope all the people out there really enjoy what you're doing, because I understand that your show is very popular.
Well, that's how I understand it too, but it's just clicks on a computer, so you never know for sure. Well, it's wonderful to have you. We were just talking before I hit record. You've had a very interesting career, one of my favorite career stories in ventriloquism, but you never went full-time pro.
No, I come from Falmouth, Massachusetts. That's on Cape Cod, and I have a family, and at those days back in 60s, I was working hard to take care of my family and my children. But I worked two different jobs, which is I was on the Falmouth Police Force as a special officer for 24 years, and then I worked for the Natural Gas Company, which for 34 years, and I received my benefits, so in order to take care of my family.
That's great. That's really cool. How'd you get started in Vent?
Well, I was 14 years old, and at those days I watched Edgar Bergen with Charlie McCarthy. But when Paul Winchell and Jerry Mahoney came on, that really sparked me up. And, of course, Jimmy Nelson with the Nestle Chocolate, and also a Milton Berle show with Danny O'Day. And that sparked my career.
That's really cool. Now, what did you do for your full-time?
Full-time, I worked as at a natural gas company.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Did you just say that?
Yes, I did.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
My brain was on the next question.
Let me out of here. Be quiet, Butch.
Yes, when did Butch come into the picture?
Butch came into the picture when I was 14 years old. And it's a jewel figure. Yeah. And all as it is, it has a string in the back and moves its mouth. and I've worked with that jewel figure for over 60 years.
Wow. That's incredible. That's awesome. How'd you maintain it? I mean, if it was a jewel figure, how do you maintain a figure like that to work professionally for decades?
Very easy. You take care of it. Take care of it. The only thing that I had to do with the jewel figure is the lips. I have had them painted over the years where I do television shows that the people, or stage shows, that people can see the lips.
Yeah, that's great.
That's the only thing I've done with it.
That's wonderful. Now,
yeah, that's right, Harold.
What's his where does his character come from?
Like a boyish character. Like a more of a sassy type. I like to say, "Hi, how you doing? That nice day, isn't it?" Back and forth.
Yeah.
But when we and of course, then my career started out. I went at those days. We did minstrel shows.
Yeah.
And that's way before your era, and also talent shows. And my first talent show was in Onset, Massachusetts. I was on the stage, and I won first prize. And geez, I got a little trophy at home. Still have that trophy, and it was exciting. And from there on, I started out, and I went on the Ted Mack Original Amateur Hour out of New York City, and I was chosen out of 25 people to go on the show.
Wow.
And I tied for first place.
Yeah. Wow, that's really cool. Who was the runner-up? Or who were you
the Harmonica Rascals.
Oh, cool.
And at those days, they used to vote by card. Send your card in, and that's how they voted. And
how long after your appearance did you know if it was send the card in?
They called to let you know that if you won or not.
Wow.
They give you information. At those days, we didn't have video cameras and so forth. But I was very fortunate. I'm on YouTube.
Yeah.
Everybody can look me up as Ventriloquist Crocker on YouTube and see the Ted Mack Original Amateur that I was on.
That's incredible. Well, yeah, that stuff gets saved. That stuff gets converted to digital. And
Well, Butch is the only figure that can whistle.
Yes.
And on that YouTube, you'll see, you watch his whistling and so forth.
How'd you learn to do that?
Just practice in front of the mirror.
Yeah.
And of course, like I mentioned, we didn't have video cameras.
Yeah.
And all I had was a black and white picture at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very fortunate. A few years ago at Van Haven here, a convention, the people from HBO came down, and they interviewed myself and a couple other ventriloquists, and they found the video, the cinemascope at that time at the in Washington in the arcades or whatever.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's right, Harold.
It's a part of history. We're getting away from the normal kind of variety show, aren't we? Ted Mack.
Yes. Today, Ted Mack is actually the Americans Got Talent.
Yeah.
That's the. But
you find that sad?
Yes, I do. One of the greatest events of my career, I've had three. Number one is that being on Ted Mack Amateur Hour in front of a live audience in New York City, and having an orchestra in the pit that played No Business Like Show Business.
That's got to be awesome.
And having Ted Mack, when you walk out, really give you that great feeling. I mean, here you are, right in front of all these people, and you're coming out, and it was great.
That's awesome. Now, I want to talk about another show business highlight that I think that a lot of people talk about around here about you more so than Ted Mack is you perform for the president.
Yes, I had the opportunity of performing at the Hyannis compound for President Kennedy and his daughter Caroline, and all the family was at the compound. It was in the afternoon, and the whole clan was there.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How'd you get the gig?
How I received that is the House Speaker McCormick. He was House Speaker at the time with President Kennedy. His Attorney General of Massachusetts, McCormick, sent a letter to the housekeeper, and then they called me from the called me to arrange the arrangements. And at that time, I was a special police officer in the town of Falmouth.
What does that mean, special police officer?
Well, we do details and all kinds of details for the town.
Very cool.
Like we're go on the cruiser, go out and do barroom details, stuff like that.
Nice. I ask why never, you had the experience and you got the credits to make a career, and you certainly have the talent. Why did you never jump in full time?
Well, my family is most important to me, and I felt that if I was on the road, I wouldn't have the opportunity to enjoy life with my family. and I've been married 52 years.
God bless.
Yeah. And my wife and I, we enjoy it. I have great grandchildren. My children are growing up, and they respect my entertainment. They like it, and we also enjoy going to New Hampshire. I have a house on the lake up there too, but my main residence is in Falmouth, Massachusetts.
That's cool. When did you retire from the special police officer?
About 20 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, that's way back.
Congratulations. So did you take more gigs at that time, or have you
Oh, I was
retired?
taking the gigs from 14 when I went to high school.
No. I mean, did you start taking more gigs after you retired?
Oh yes, I keep going. Doing a lot of. I do a lot of senior programs. I've done a lot of talent shows. Mount Washington Hotel in New Hampshire. All kinds. Cable network.
Yeah.
Had my own variety shows and.
Oh, cool!
Yeah.
Wow.
So I learned from Ted Mack in the original amateur hour how to be a host, be the MC, and bring entertainers on to entertain.
And make them feel special.
Make them feel special.
Yeah.
And I've always learned that when you're doing that, you build up the entertainer, and that makes them proud.
That's awesome. Yeah. And you're also a staple here at the Vent Haven Convention. We'd love
they
to
got
see
me on the wall, haven't they?
Yeah. What's your favorite part of coming to the convention?
I've been coming for over 30 years to the convention. How I received to come to the convention was my great friend Jimmy Nelson. I had the opportunity quite a few years ago. I was in Fall River, Massachusetts, and I was on. They had what they call a stage with automobiles,
Yeah.
and Jimmy was on one side, and I was on the other side. And when I finished my program, I went over and talked to Mr. Nelson, and I call him Mr. Nelson because he's one of my. I don't call him Jimmy. I call him Mr. Nelson, and we had a picture taken at that time. This many years ago. So then, quite a few years later, my family and I went down to Florida, and we looked up Mr. Nelson, and he greeted us at his home, and Mr. Nelson showed me Danny O'Day and Farfel, and he says, "Harold, have you ever heard of the Vent Haven Museum?" And he says, "They're going to the convention," and I said, "No, Mr. Nelson, because I come from Cape Cod. I mean, those days, it's not out like it is today, where everybody has that information where to go." And he gave me his personal card, and then from that year on, I've been coming to the ventriloquist convention every year.
That's awesome.
Without missing any, all the time.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've met a lot of wonderful ventriloquists here, and for the people out there that would like to join us here, it's not only coming to the convention, but you learn a lot of things about vent.
And you meet some of the coolest people you'll ever meet.
Yes, you do, and you meet a lot of down-to-earth people too that take the time to sit down and talk to you, not rush, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you, we've been trying to find a time all week to sit down, and
Right.
I appreciate this. And it's, at this convention, you get people of your generation mingling with people of my generation, and even. I don't consider the 7 and 8 year olds my generation. I'm in my 20s, so that generation too. It's incredible. It really is.
Well, what my 3 highlights of my career is, number 1, the Ted Mack Original Amateur Hour. Number 2, President Kennedy Hyannisport for Caroline's birthday party. And number 3 is receiving the Distinguished Award in the Outstanding Art of Ventriloquism from my peers.
Yes.
And
You
that is one of the
deserve that.
greatest.
What year was that?
That was 2 years ago.
That was great.
Yeah.
2013?
Yes.
I was there.
Yeah.
Yes. That's awesome. I remember that now. Yeah. Absolutely.
And when they presented it, Mark Wade presented the plaque to me, my idol was right next to me, Jimmy Nelson.
It's got to feel so good.
Yep.
Yes.
With Paul Winchell, I was out in Vegas with Paul Winchell, and I have a figure that looks like Jerry Mahoney, but it was one of Paul Winchell's first replicas from the Jewel Company, and was signed and autographed by Paul Winchell. And Paul says to me, he says, "You park your car in Massachusetts." Your car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. So what? Go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I've received a lot of distinguished certificates from the governor of Massachusetts, Michael Dukakis, and different different people from higher up.
That's incredible. I mean, like I said, and you did it all while maintaining the career and thinking about family first.
Yes. And to my suggestion is that for people out there that have a career, take time and enjoy around you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You have to.
You certainly do. It's you got to love life. It's, what was it? So many people, everybody dies, not everybody lives.
Right.
And you certainly have lived. What do you want to see from the ventriloquists who come to the convention, who are younger, and what do you want to see for the art form?
I want to see them go out and do something for the public. Today, there's a lot of things going on that people don't have time to really sit down and enjoy. I would like to give them laughter. That's the main thing today, laughter. Not this fake laughter where you listen to the radio in the morning, and they're laughing and all that. Yeah. I want to see the real laughter.
From the
yes,
gut.
Yes, right. And make people happy. I find that I do a lot of nursing homes and hospitals. And you look at the people in the hospital and you say to yourself, thank God for what you have, that you can walk around and make people laugh.
Absolutely.
And one of the greatest comedians that I would say is Red Skeleton.
Yes.
He gave a lot of laughter to the people.
Yes, he did. Well, Harold Crocker, I thank you so much. What an incredible life.
Well, man, it's been a pleasure being on your program. And, it really is. Harold D on his talk about Butch. Butch is going to say goodbye to your folks out there, but keep listening to Matt, and you'll enjoy his programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Harold, and thank you again to Dennis. I'll see you at the next convention. You guys were fantastic. That's it for us this week. Next week, ventriloquist and Las Vegas backstage talk host Michelle Lafong joins us. Plus, we'll have another name for our week of 100 to reveal to you. And, of course, that is all to kick off October here on Talk for Two. October already. I can't deal with it. And then in the middle of next month, we're supposed to have this event, and I just do not feel ready at all. I have most everybody secured, but I'm still working on some stuff. So this is really exciting, this week of 100 event that we're going to have. In the meantime, head over to talk4spellout2.com for even more Talk for Two. Check out some of the awesome stuff we have for you in the Talk Shop. We are now shipping our new DVD, Ventriloquism for Comedy Clubs. If you want to work comedy clubs as event, get this. Get it. It's sold like hotcakes at Vent Haven. Thank you. Get it. Plus, we are taking orders for our very first official podcast t-shirt. A thank you again to our season sponsors, Tangent Bound Network, and to our season entertainment sponsor, Axtel Expressions. We talked about both of them at the top, and I hope you'll go check out their sites. You can find all you need to know about Talk for Two by going to our website, talk4spellout2.com. Reach out by emailing talkfor2cast@gmail.com, and find our group or like us on Facebook by searching for Talk for Two, and tweet us and about us using @ and hashtag Talk for Two. FOR in everything else but the URL, okay? Signing off for Talk for Two, I'm Matt Bailey, reminding all you vents out there to keep talking for two.
You can hear more show business interviews with the stars at talkfor2.com, where you'll also find one-of-a-kind products to improve your own show. That's talk, the number 4, TWO.com.